Welcome to the Google Cloud Security Showcase, a special web series where we'll focus on security use cases that customers can solve with Google Cloud. My name is Mark, and I'm a product manager at Google Cloud. Today, we'll be walking through one of the top questions we get from customers. How can I add authentication and identity management to my own apps? Let's see how this looks in Google Cloud Platform. The first thing we have to do is enable Identity Platform. Now, you can see I've got this pinned here, but it normally hides down below in the Tools section of the left navigation. But I can also go to the Cloud Marketplace in order to enable Identity Platform. So let's go through that flow now. In the Marketplace, if I search for Identity and Platform, you'll be able to select the product and enable it if it's not enabled in your project. Now, Identity Platform is a customer identity and access management product and really helps you to secure and enable your applications to be more secure and take Google's best practices with you when you develop your applications and services. So let's enable the product. And I've actually already enabled Identity Platform inside of this GCP project. And you can see the first thing I'm greeted with is a number of different providers. Now, we support a range of social providers, be it GitHub or Facebook or LinkedIn or Microsoft, as well as being able to sign in with an email and password. And interestingly enough, SAML and OpenID Connect, the enterprise federation standards that the organizations you're working with often use. An interesting one to talk about briefly is Anonymous. Anonymous enables you to start to get to know your users, start to develop a relationship with them before you even ask them for any information. So you can slowly gain more and more information about the user, and when the time is right, ask them to enter a username and password, or ask them to link a social credential. We think this is really important to develop trust with end users that are coming to your applications or services you might be building. If I come into email and password, I can actually do some extra configuration. So we support things like passwordless login. We know that end users hate having to enter usernames and passwords when they come to a new service. And so with passwordless login, it doesn't get any more simple than them entering an email address, and suddenly they get a link that allows them to sign in. Now, inside of my project, I've already got some users already created, but you can add users directly from the console or with our set of admin SDKs or client SDKs as well. And in the settings menu, we have a range of different configuration. We understand that account linking gets quite challenging, where a user brings a username and password and later wants to add a Facebook credential or a Google credential or something else to the user account, so they can have a range of ways to sign in. So linking accounts cuts out all the complexity. If we see two users that look the same and have the same credentials, we're able to link them together to provide the end user with options. With activity logging, we're able to send all of the information about administrative activities, end user sign-in activities, and everything else into Stackdriver. So you can start to develop trending and understand how your users are using your product, as well as how administrators are making changes to certain pieces of functionality that might be critical to the functioning of your business or to your application. And finally, we have a range of different self-service options. So we could allow users to create their accounts automatically or force an administrator to go through the process of creating them. And the same with delete. So let me show you briefly how this looks. I'm going to come to this application here. And so I've built the front end on Google App Engine. And I have a range of different sign-in methods. So I can sign in with email, sign in with Google, GitHub, as well as that anonymous authentication. We also support the enterprise federation standards that I spoke about earlier. So if you want to sign in with SAML, if your business partners already have their own IDP, they can simply click a button and get redirected to their existing identity providers, whether it be SAML, OpenID Connect, or something else. Now, configuring this front end was really quite simple. If I flick back for a moment to the Identity Platform interface and go back to the providers, you'll see here there's application setup details. If I click that, I get all the configuration I need to be able to add Identity Platform to the product, to the project, or to the service that I'm building. So, what does that look like? If I come into Cloud Shell, you can see this is my index page, and all I've done is simply add the configuration into my application front end, and simply initializing it. What that does is then initialize the front end and initializes the widget so that it can add those sign-in providers. And adding sign-in providers is easy as specifying the providers that you want to add. And so this is the code that's running on my Google App Engine front end. So let's go back to our application. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sign in with email. I pre-created an account here, and I'm going to sign in. Now, what's happened here is it's minted a standards-based OpenID Connect ID token. It says some information about me, maybe my name, and how I've signed in. In this case, I signed in with a password. It also gives any other information about me that might be relevant. In this case, I specified an email, and we can see that I haven't yet verified my email address. We support a range of different custom claims and custom attributes that you can also add to this ID token so that you can build authorization rules inside of your application or service based on the parameters of a user or based on the attributes associated with them. So signing in is one piece of the puzzle, but it actually gets interesting when you start to use it. So while I built my front end on Google App Engine, I built my back end on Google's Anthos. So here I'm going to use my token. And the first thing I'm going to do is try and hit my Anthos backend, my Anthos APIs, without authentication. And what we can see here is that I get this 401 unauthorized error. So I haven't sent a token to the backend, and so it's telling me I'm unauthorized. And with Anthos, I can do this without changing any code in my application or service, simply writing a rule, configuring it on the backend service, and then allowing end users to try and hit it, depending on whether they're authenticated or not. If I hit this with authentication button, what's going to happen is I send that ID token that we saw just a moment ago to the Anthos backend, and what I've got is some rules that say, hey, this has to be issued from the Identity Platform product and the Identity Platform service that you've configured. And so in this case, I'm using some traffic management against my Hello World backend in order to pass that ID token to the Anthos backend and allow me to get access to and from the service. So we have all of this documented publicly on our Identity Platform public documentations in Cloud Docs, and I encourage you to go and check that out to learn more about this and also configure this code lab for yourself. Thank you for tuning in. Please visit cloud.google.com/security for more content from Google Cloud experts.